Chapter 2. Food Frenzy. The sun poured down over downtown Maplewood, illuminating the streets and turning the asphalt into a radiant blanket. The air was filled with the scent of blossoming cherry trees, mingling with the tantalizing aromas wafting from the food trucks lining Maple Street, each one vying for attention and customers. However, no two trucks were more fiercely competitive than the Spice Route and the Noodle Nest, both owned by rival chefs, with a penchant for drama and secrets that could fuel a citywide explosion. As Sarah Martinez stood behind the counter of the Spice Route, she squeezed fresh lime juice into a bowl of guacamole, her nimble fingers working their magic. Her food truck was painted a cheerful shade of chili red, emblazoned with the brightly colored graphics of various spices she had meticulously designed herself. She leaned over the counter, wiping her brow with the back of her hand. "Another hot one today," she muttered, glancing at her calendar, filled with reminders and marketing spillovers. "Busier than a taco truck on Taco Tuesday." Her best friend Lisa chimed in, stirring a pot of spicy black bean soup in the small kitchenette. "Can you blame them?" Sarah replied, rolling her eyes. "Just look at that guy over there." She nodded in the direction of the Noodle Nest, its teal color sparkling in the sun. The truck had a certain charm with origami decorations hung along the awning, but it was mostly known for the owner, Nick Thompson. Lisa smirked, leaning against the counter with her arms crossed. "I bet he's making his special ramen today. You know how it is. He claims he's the noodle king, but I think the only crown he deserves is one made of soggy noodles." Sarah laughed at the image, but quickly reframed her focus. "Well, while it's adorable that he thinks he can outcook me, we both know the truth." She grabbed a tortilla, expertly flipping it onto the grill. "I'm the queen of spicy." Bad blood had simmered between Sarah and Nick since their food truck rivalry ignited last summer. They'd both participated in the Maplewood Food Truck Festival, a noisy competition rife with culinary artistry and aggressive marketing tactics. Amidst the sizzling meats and colorful garnishes, their playful but sharp barbs had transformed into more. Mixed with competitiveness was a palpable chemistry that neither was willing to acknowledge. "Sarah, look over there," Lisa said suddenly, drawing Sarah from her thoughts. She turned to see Nick sporting his signature bandana and a grin that could charm the clouds from the sky. He was demonstrating a noodle-twirling technique for a group of mesmerized onlookers. The crowd laughed and clapped, tipping their imaginary hats to his culinary performance. "He's just showing off," Sarah grumbled, though secretly she couldn't deny that Nick did have a knack for entertaining. She turned back to her customers, a mix of students, local workers, and curious foodies eager to sample her famous Chipotle shrimp tacos. The order requests flooded in, and she slipped into the familiar rhythm of service, her hands working like well-oiled machinery. Lisa worked alongside her, chopping avocados and refilling drinks, both of them glancing occasionally at the Noodle Nest, where Nick was clearly thriving. "Last order for the Chipotle shrimp! Come on, folks!" Sarah called out, trying to rally energy into the dwindling lunchtime crowd. As the lunch rush pitter-pattered out and the day turned languorous, Sarah decided she needed to take a breather from the hustle. With her apron still on, she ventured outside to take a few deep breaths of fresh air. She strolled towards the park bench across from her truck, where she often found solace in the form of people-watching. "Hey, you!" a familiar voice hollered. Sarah looked up, startled, and saw Nick sauntering towards her, handing a steaming cup of miso soup to an equally relaxed customer. "What do you want, Thompson?" she shot back, folding her arms defensively. "Just came to see if I could borrow some limes," he replied, a teasing grin outlining the corners of his lips. "I must have misplaced mine. Maybe they rolled over to your paradise of spice?" "Spices aren't meant for borrowing," she shot back, trying to maintain her composure despite the embarrassed flush creeping into her cheeks. "Especially not when you steal my customers." "Steal?" "I think you mean entertain," he quipped, giving her a mock bow that turned several heads. "They love the theatrics." Sarah rolled her eyes. "Your theatrics are literally just you dancing with a bowl of noodles, not a culinary masterpiece." "Hey," he retorted, placing a hand over his chest in mock outrage. "That bowl is not just any bowl of noodles. It's the bowl of glory, and it's making my profits surge. Plus, ramen, can be a work of art. Sure, if glue counts as art, she shot back, unable to hide her growing smile. Despite herself, she found him charming when he was animated, and it was annoying how easily he slipped into her thoughts without even trying. You'll pay for that comment, Nick said, adjusting his bandana. Maybe with an artistic face full of guacamole later? He grinned mischievously, his deep brown eyes sparkling with mischief. Sounds thrilling, being splattered by your condiment choice. Ah, you see, I'm already getting under your skin. Admit it, we're the best of enemies. And the worst of friends, Sarah shot back, but she felt her defenses crumble as the fading sunlight illuminated the twinkle in his eyes. Maybe one day we'll be friends, he suggested thoughtfully. Sarah's mouth dropped in disbelief, but she caught her expression before it fully formed. Listen, Nick, this is a competition, not a high school reunion. We're rivals, remember? Rivals can become friends, he replied, crossing his arms, leaning slightly closer, the air thickening with unspoken tension. If only you'd stop raising the stakes with your famous Chipotle shrimp. You know that stuff's magic. Yeah, and your ramen is a glorified water dish, she retorted, though she knew better than to underestimate him. Just then, a burst of laughter erupted from a table of customers at the Noodle Nest. They had just taken a bite of his signature ramen, and their faces glowed with a mix of delight and surprise. What are they laughing at? She asked, feigning nonchalance but unable to mask her irritation. The joy of life, my friend, Nick replied, emphasizing his words with a flourish, and the joy of slurping. I'll give you joy in a minute, she muttered, peering over curiously. A small girl waved at Nick, and he waved back enthusiastically, showcasing his soft side. Her heart flipped involuntarily. Don't let it get to your head. Just remember who's actually going to win this week's contest. Nick stepped back, folding his arms again. When I win, let's make a deal. Whoever loses has to take a back seat and admit the other is the better chef. Sarah felt the heat of his gaze beneath the sun's rays. And when you lose, what happens then? She asked, a sly smile creeping over her lips as she gestured at her food truck. I'll admit that your Chipotle shrimp could have some culinary merit, he replied with confidence. Just that, she taunted. Barely a win. Nick laughed, brushing his hands together. How about I help promote your food truck for a week? We can put up signs around town together. Imagine the synergy. Doesn't sound too terrible, she mused, considering. But imagine this, he said, his tone suddenly more serious. I promise to cook under your supervision for a day. You can show me how to make true street food. Sarah raised an eyebrow, intrigued by the challenge. And if I win, then I'll allow you the honor of publicly announcing my defeat, he replied, his grin transforming into something more genuine, something vulnerable. Okay, it's a deal then? Deal, she said, then added mischievously. But if you lose, I want you to wear a chef's hat that says Queen of Noodles every time you serve customers for a week. He laughed, raising his hands in mock surrender. Consider it done. Just bring it on. As they both retreated into their respective trucks, Sarah felt a rush of excitement mixed with an undercurrent of anxiety. The competition was still fierce, but there was something exhilarating about being antagonistic but playful. As she turned back inward for the day's dinner rush, her mind replayed Nick's smile, the dance of their banter, and that promise etched between them. A spark had ignited beyond the simmering rivalry, dangerously close to the fires of a more tender emotion. The question was whether either of them would dare to let it ignite fully, or if they would let their competitive spirits hold them back. As evening rolled in, and the golden hour painted the sky in soft blush tones, Sarah spotted Nick pulling down the hood of the Noodle Nest, winding up his gear for the day. Their eyes locked for a brief moment, the tension woven with warmth, as if both were acutely aware of the impending change in their relationship. With a sigh, she looked back into her truck and grinned. If they were going to battle, she'd ensure it was the most exciting rivalry Maplewood had ever seen.